This news update is brought to you by
I won for me to me.
For me?
Yes. You don't need speakers, right?
Upgrade to win every week with Lime. Sign up for Lime TV or broadband or purchase an iPhone 6 or Samsung Note 4. Upgrade Christmas with Lime.
Welcome to the Barbados Today Afternoon Update. It's Tuesday, December 30th, 2014. I'm Carol Williams. Thanks for joining us. Government has been advised on how to make use of finances offered by two British billionaires, if it chooses to accept. Recently, Andrew Stewart and his business partner, Stuart Fordham, offered to help the Fronda Stewart administration raise money through floating bonds on the international capital market. Several members of society, including former Prime Minister Owen Arthur, have cautioned the government against accepting the money. But head of the Barbados Economic Society, Jeremy Stevens, says if the administration chooses to accept, the money should go directly into the National Insurance Scheme.
Very short-term decisions could seemingly be fixed by $2 billion, but we can end back into another problem 2 years from now if we don't fix what got us here in the first place, which is structural inefficiencies. If, for instance, then, the society, there's a member of the society that made this argument, and I agree with it. If this was, the $2 billion was targeted, say, towards recapitalizing the NIS, for instance, a major part of it, as opposed to just going into recurring expenditure, so to pay wages and to pay the statutory corporations and going to the other transfers of subsidies. If it was to do the second part, not going to the NIS, then it's a wasteful exercise if it is that the government wishes to explore. It, however, would not be wasteful if we put it into investment-driven vehicles such as the NIS.
2014 has been described as a mixed year for the country's labor force, but President of the Human Resource Management Association of Barbados is optimistic that things will turn around in the new year. Glenda Gilks is expressing her confidence despite plans by government to make changes to a number of state-owned enterprises that could see more workers on the breadline. However, Gilks is hoping that those affected will be absorbed in other areas of the workforce. She is also encouraged by a number of initiatives in the market, which she says the association is hoping will provide employment opportunities for job seekers. In other news, yet another clergyman is denouncing the level of violence in the country. Anglican Priest Davison Bowen is particularly worried that many of the crimes involves the youth. He says society needs to stop turning a blind eye to the problem.
Quite frankly, I am tired of hearing every time the news comes on that somebody else was shot, somebody else was chopped up. And drugs has a large part to play in this as well. I mean, discounting this domestic violence and that sort of stuff. The thing is, every boy that is shot was a good boy. Every boy that the police holds was a good boy. So clearly the police are holding all the good boys and all the good boys are being shot. The thing is, if you are not living a particular lifestyle, that lifestyle is not going to follow you.
Acting Police Chief Tyrone Griffith said last week that crime is down an unprecedented 15%. Barbados loses one of its centenarians. Cameron Boyce of Mount View Drive, St. Lucie, passed away at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital yesterday. He was 102. Boyce was the founder and Bishop Emeritus of Life and Light Apostolic Church. He served there for over 75 years until retirement. He is survived by wife Joycelyn and 6 children.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
To our regional neighbors now, Haitian President Michel Martelly has sealed a deal with lawmakers to extend Parliament's mandate and hold legislative elections by April next year. President Martelly signed the agreement with the 2 presidents of the Parliament to extend the life of the Chamber of Deputies until April 2015 and the Senate until September 2015. Parliament was set to expire on January 12th, which would have left Martelly to rule by decree, a prospect that has sparked opposition protests in the impoverished Caribbean nation in recent weeks. Over in Guyana, there is still no sight of the missing Air Services Limited aircraft and its 2 occupants after 2 straight days of searching. We get more in this report.
Another Cessna 206 departed to Mary at around 8:30 a.m. with coordinators and investigators from the Civil Aviation Authority carrying additional equipment and supplies. Around noon Sunday, the Temeri Air Traffic Control lost communication with the Air Services Limited Britain Norman Islander that was operating between Madhya and Carisparu in Region 8. Captain Prasad and the handler were on board the twin-engine aircraft which took off from Madhya airstrip at 11:42 on a routine local cargo flight. The aircraft was scheduled to arrive at Carisparu 17 minutes later, but it never did, and so the search and rescue team was put into operation and remains in the location this evening.
And finally, a devastating blow for families of the Air Asia flight as officials made a grim discovery in the waters of Indonesia earlier today. Focus now turns to the recovery of the more than 100 bodies on that ill-fated flight.
The President arrived here, he went in, spoke briefly to the members of the families of people who were on Flight 8501, then came out and spoke briefly to the press and has now gone back in once again to be with those families. And what he said that his priority is for the evacuation, in his words, of the passengers, basically the recovery of the passengers from 8501. And he said what he had told the families when he went in to see them was that he felt the loss. We all felt the loss, he said, and we should all pray for us, he said, to be given strength in this hour of terrible anguish, of terrible pain for the families of 150 Indonesians who were on board that flight. There were another 5 of different nationalities, plus, of course, the 7 crew members. A very, very difficult time now, particularly here in Surabaya. This is the crisis centre. The families are still locked in with the President, as we understand, behind me. The grim task of identifying bodies begins. A police hospital has been set up here, Michaela, for the remains to be returned here. Interestingly, the President, as far as we know, did not speak of survivors. Obviously, we can't rule this out, but it is very, very unlikely. The bodies will be returned here for identification. Families now, just in the last couple of hours, officially being asked if they could provide photos, they could provide documents, they could provide anything, perhaps something that they could match a DNA test with.
And that's our afternoon update, but you can join us again this evening. Until then, log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper email updates, or like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Also tune in to Channel 101 on Lime TV to get all the latest news and sports. I'm Carol Williams. Do continue to enjoy your day.
This news update is brought to you by...
You got an upgrade for Christmas.
If you're feeling lucky, you could win some money.
An upgrade for Christmas.
$200,000 in cash and prizes. With Lime, you could win some money. It's Lime's Christmas Lottery. 250 winners this Christmas, oh yeah.
Sign up or upgrade to super fast broadband, Lime TV, e-billing, a data plan. Top up $15. Purchase a handset or text 4263 to enter.
Upgrade for Christmas.